Good morning. I'm Marge, a Unity in Lynnwood prayer chaplain. Welcome, welcome everyone to this time of silent meditation. Whether you're part of our virtual online community or are here in our chancel, we share our gratitude for the opportunity to enter this sacred time together. So, in this quietness, set aside the busyness of the morning. Let go of responsibilities. Let go of obligations. Let go of fretting about situations and relationships. Just settle comfortably into your chair or wherever you're seated. Let your eyes gently close. Take a slow, deep breath and let it out with a sigh. And take another deep breath and let it go to your heart, where you find the presence of Spirit as you go inward. Just relaxing and breathing. Let go into this presence as you enter this time of silent meditation. Gently bring yourselves back into this physical space. Let your eyes open slowly. Breathe deeply. As you return to the outer world, embrace the knowing that you are surrounded and enfolded in divine love. And knowing that divine love is your birthright and is always available in the outer world. Please join me as we bless Dr. Richard, Reverend Nina, and Matthew, and the richness they bring to this service. And we bless the many people who contribute to the creation of this special time together. And we carry that blessing to ourselves, whether here in our chancel, or in our virtual congregation. And so it is.
spent my whole life searching for a shelter for my soul, an understanding of the greater plan. In these walls I've seen the light of love pure and divine, helps me remember who I really am. In every face it's clear, we're all God's children here, and it feels like home, it feels like home. I finally found a place where I belong. It feels like home, it feels like home, a family that I can call my own. It feels like home. It's a place to share your burden. It's safe to shed a tear, say a prayer and raise your voice in song, where every heart is honored and every path is true. No one's here to judge you right or wrong, and there's no shame, no sin in this place where love begins. And it feels like home, it feels like home. I finally found a place where I belong. It feels like home, it feels like home, a family that I can call my own. It feels like home.
Oh, what an honor to open our time together by creating a space in consciousness where we remind ourselves of our oneness, our unity, and that one presence that binds us all together. This morning, I'd like to begin by sharing an excerpt from The Story of Unity by James Dillett Freeman. By the time the Fillmores, and for those of you who may be new, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore are the co-founders of Unity. By the time the Fillmores moved their offices to the house on McGee Street, a crowd was coming every day to see if some of the healing faith of these two praying people might touch and restore their bodies. By the time Charles arrived at 10 or 11 in the morning, there were always at least a dozen people waiting for him in the reception room. He had his office in the front parlor. And there he took these persons one by one and listened to them and prayed with them. And he knew that he of himself could do nothing, but his whole prayer and his whole life were consecrated to gaining a spirit of oneness with the God of life, whose power can bring perfection to mind and body. They would sit still together, and in that creative silence, he would speak the powerful words of truth. And here's Myrtle from How to Let God Help You. I went to all the life centers of my body and spoke words of truth to them, words of strength and power. I did not become discouraged at their being slow to wake up, but kept right on, both silently and aloud, declaring the words of truth. And every time that I read these words, I am struck again by the fact that neither Charles nor Myrtle asked for anything. They did not ask for healing. They did not ask for livers to get better or legs to grow or cancers to go away. They didn't ask for money to arrive or bills to be paid or cars to show up on their doorsteps. And when I read Ernest Holmes or Frederick Bales, I find the same thing. They all spoke words of truth. Frederick Bales didn't ask for his diabetes to go away. He declared the truth about his pancreas, and his pancreas responded. He said, I turn every last thread of my thought to the contemplation of that steady movement of the thought of God in me and in every single cell of my body. I think of its beauty its unutterable harmonies, its total unawareness of any resisting force, its breathing of "it is good" as it contemplates the universe it has brought into being. Quietly now, I let myself drift into the innermost parts of that infinite mind and catch something of its unshakable peace, knowing that this mind flows through me as my mind. They all spoke words of truth. Prayer isn't about getting something, it's about knowing something. It's about knowing the truth of our oneness with God and knowing it so deeply, so profoundly, so completely that it becomes an obvious of course, and that all that is true of God is true of us. I am whole because I am of God, because God is whole. You are perfect life because you are of God, and God is perfect life. We are love manifest because we are of God, and God is perfect love. I am intelligence itself because I am of God, and God is pure intelligence. Prayer doesn't change things. Prayer changes us, changes our consciousness. So will you close your eyes with me and let my words of truth be your words? There is but one life, one power, and one presence. There is but one substance, one mind, one intelligence, and this one life is all power, absolute harmony, perfectly whole and complete, infinite abundance. And this one life, as part of its limitless creativity, expresses itself as me. And knowing as I do that infinite and one are synonymous, I know that I cannot be separate from God. I am made out of this one substance, which is the only thing that is and the only thing that is not. And this leads me to the logical conclusion that what is true of this one life is true of me. And so the truth of me, regardless of outer appearances, is wholeness. The truth of me, regardless of outer appearances, is harmony. The truth of me, regardless of outer experience, is abundance. And I remind myself that I am a perfect idea in the mind of God, and that my every cell is bathed in the glorious truth of wholeness, life, vitality, peace, and harmony. And so I choose to see with the eyes of wholeness, love with the heart of harmony, think with a mind brimming with wisdom, knowing that in truth, nothing is missing, nothing is lacking. And I allow myself to rest in this truth. I allow this truth to sink deep into my psyche, and I give myself full permission to live from this truth and to know myself in this highest possible way. And I let it be so, and so it is.
It feels like home. It feels like home. I finally found a place where I belong. It feels like home. It feels like home, a family that I can call my own. It feels like home. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are whole. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are whole. Spirit divine, come to me, feeling to see beauty and love lives in me. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are whole. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are whole. In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. It's a love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. It's a love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are whole. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are whole. There is only love. There is only love. It's a love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
I think we can all just go home now. That was amazing. Thank you. We are holy, holy, holy. Good morning. My name is, oh, yay. My name is Reverend Nina Clark, and I'm the Associate Minister here at Unity in Lynnwood, and it is my and our utter delight to welcome you here this morning, and we are so glad to see all of your faces physically here in our sanctuary and virtually here in our virtual sanctuary. Thank you for being with us this morning. So I was doing something really unusual the other day. I was scrolling on Facebook. Like none of us ever do that, right? And I came across this offering posted by Unity Minister John McLean. And it originated with the Coventry Cathedral, and it's titled A Coventry Cathedral Welcome. And I'd like to share it with you this morning. I think it'll sound a little familiar. We extend a special welcome to those who are single, married, divorced, widowed, straight, gay, questioning, well-heeled, or at heel. We especially welcome wailing babies and excited toddlers. We welcome you whether you sing like Pavarotti or you just growl quietly to yourself. You're welcome here if you're just browsing, just woken up, or just got out of prison. We don't care if you're more Christian than the Archbishop of Canterbury, or if you haven't been to church since Christmas 10 years ago. We extend a special welcome to those who are over 60 but not grown up yet, and to teenagers who are growing up too fast. We welcome keep fit moms, football dads, starving artists, tree huggers, latte sippers, vegetarians, junk food eaters. We welcome those who are in recovery or who are still addicted. We welcome you if you're having problems, are down in the dumps, or don't like organized religion. We're not that keen on it either. We offer a welcome to those who think the earth is flat, work too hard, don't work, can't spell, or are here because Granny is visiting and wanted to come to church. We welcome those of you who are inked, pierced, both, or neither. We offer a special welcome to those who could use a prayer right now, had religion shoved down their throat as kids, or got lost on the ring road and wound up here by mistake. We welcome pilgrims, tourists, seekers, doubters, and you. Isn't that lovely? And doesn't that sound familiar? That is the same radical welcome that we speak to each here on Sunday at Unity in Lynnwood. Let There Be Peace on Earth is a song that is popular among Unity churches, and it's often sung to close the service. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. It is one of those lines that's repeated often. Let it begin with me. Here within the walls and hearts of this expressing divine idea that we call Unity in Lynnwood, we believe in and practice radical welcome. And I believe that radical welcome plays a big part in creating peace on earth. Let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let it begin with you. When we practice radical welcome, we chip away at those barriers that society erects between us and that we erect between each other. By daring to meet the eye of a stranger, by daring to meet the eye of someone who looks different from us, and being willing to see them as God manifest, we are practicing radical welcome. I see you. We are expressions of the same ground of being. I see you. Welcome. Will you do that now? Will you be bold and daring? Find the eye of someone you typically don't make eye contact with and say, I see you. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to Unity in Lynnwood. You are welcome here.
If you'd like to hear more from Reverend Nina Clark, join us next week. Her lesson is entitled, Love One Another. How do you like that? Love one another. Love one another. As you may or may not know, Reverend Nina Clark has been hired as the senior minister of Unity of San Antonio, Texas next week, and the week following will be her final weeks as associate minister at Unity in Lynnwood. We miss you already, girl. We miss you already. Practical spirituality, welcoming community, that mission statement that is so short in terms of its words, but so very deep in terms of its meaning. And so it is that every week I like to support this mission statement with one of the 6 values statements, if you will, that we developed in conversation with your board of trustees beginning in late 2014. Where does the time go? Where does the time go? Today I've chosen the 6th of 6, and it reads as follows. We welcome people from all spiritual traditions or from no spiritual tradition whatsoever into every activity of our community. I'm quite proud of that, I must say. I'm quite proud to serve and to create within the context of a community that is devoutly Catholic and unabashedly Anglican and daringly agnostic and wildly metaphysical. I have to tell you, I'm quite proud to have a diversity of humanity together in a room exploring important questions in great love. What a model for a world. What a model for a world. If you would like to pray with someone following the conclusion of our time together, Unity in Lynnwood has a bevy. There's a word you don't hear every day. A bevy of trained prayer chaplains who are eager to support you in that fashion. You will find them in this general area. Simply approach one following the conclusion of our time together that you might be able to identify them in advance. Will today's prayer chaplains please stand? If you're a member of our online audience this morning, we invite you to open your chat window. Tell us from where you're watching. Last week, we reached as far as Kenya. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? Wherever you might be on the planet, we welcome you. Callee is your social media host today. She is eager to say good morning. Words of invocation. Take them in the manner best suited to you. Silently, loudly, quietly. You may whisper. Welcome to Unity. You get to do it your way. Words of invocation begin thusly. Though imaged and named variously, there is a singular and eternal ground of being from which all life emanates and into which all life retreats. We choose to call this ground of being God. By extension, we come to understand that we are spiritual in nature, human in expression, and limitless in potential. We gather today to remember such truths, to celebrate our unity, and to honor all life. Whew. And so it is. I am happy to see you. I am happy to see you. Let me begin our time together with gratitude today for the privilege of basking in the nobility of you. I begin with gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. You may delight in the knowing that you are indeed the highlight of someone's week, because it's true. I've often said that it's the most important line in what we would call the Judeo-Christian library. And of course, the line goes on to say much more than this, but it begins, in the beginning, God created. And while I intuit something of a deep wisdom from these inaugural words chosen by an early teacher, I have to wonder if we might glean equal value from the words not chosen by this early teacher. After all, this early teacher doesn't record the primal act as in the beginning God argued. I entertain the image of anthropomorphic male God surrounded by other bearded men, each sitting upon a gilded throne, each wielding a staff of lightning, each having something of that leather grade book, each wearing a flowing white robe. And how awesome would that be, by the way, to spend eternity draped in white linen, never having to shave again. And I entertain the image that from their hushed conversation, Yahweh's voice would finally rise above the din to say, you know, I said 7 days and I meant 7 days. Or maybe start with the rib. I told you, start with the rib. But this early teacher doesn't record the primal act as in the beginning God argued. If you are at the beginning of a thing, trying to convince others of your vision may or may not be in your best interest. And he doesn't suggest that the primal act would be something akin to in the beginning God planned either. Now, I don't mean to come down on good planning. I think good planning is important. However, it does seem to me that all too often, good planning serves as something of a pretty veil draped over the ugly face of laziness, a pretty veil draped over the ugly face of doubt, a pretty veil draped over the ugly face of fear, over the ugly face even of procrastination. Analysis paralysis is the pop term that comes to mind. It's entirely possible to plan oneself entirely to death, you see, leaving not so much as a shred of evidence to indicate what one was planning all along. I imagine far too many tombstones could appropriately bear inscriptions reading, "He sure planned a lot." Or, "She sure was a good planner." But this early teacher didn't intuit the primal act as in the beginning God planned. And he doesn't suggest the primal act as in the beginning God perfected either. In fact, it quickly becomes clear that perfectionism wasn't implied in this teacher's narratives, quite the opposite, really. After all, it's mere pages into this narrative of creation that God was imagined to have effectively rolled his eyes, waved that staff of lightning, and, well, shall we say, flush the entire experiment altogether. So the early teacher doesn't record the primal act as in the beginning God perfected. Rather, while it goes on to say much more, it begins in the beginning God created. And yet, if you are like me, it's so tempting to argue. It's so tempting to plan. It's so tempting to perfect. If you're like me, you have a list of people, a list of behaviors, a list of circumstances, all out there that need to change. As I've told you before, I've become so obsessed with distracted drivers that I've become a distracted driver. I have become so puffed up in my self-assigned role as the trooper of texting that I've become a menace to good, law-abiding drivers everywhere. Arguing, you see, arguing. And if you're like me, you have a lot of plans underway. I mean, if you're like me, you can delight audiences at cocktail parties and laundromats alike with said plans, leaving scores of Cosmo drinkers and sock soakers basking in the sweet aroma of your brilliance, only to return home and find yourself in your lazy boy, planning You see, planning. And if you're like me, there's something in you forever waiting for just a little more. There's something in you waiting for just a little more education, maybe a little more funding, a little more experience, a little more help, a little more information maybe, a little more readiness, a little more faith even, a little more. You can fill in the blank, I'm sure. There's something in you forever waiting for just a little more. And the problem with this is that the world has far too many people waiting for just a little more. The great works of the world don't come through those who demonstrate perfection. You see, the great works of the world come through those who demonstrate availability. Those who demonstrate availability, perfecting, you see, perfecting. But this early teacher didn't say that God argued or that God planned or that God perfected. This early teacher said that in the beginning God created. We often interpret or translate this text to say that in the beginning God made or God produced or God created, as if working on something of an assembly line. I have a different translation for you this morning. For me, the translation that speaks to me says that in the beginning, God brought forth from itself. How's that? That's a change, isn't it? God brought forth from itself. God emulated. Here's the deal about arguing. Race consciousness will always argue with evolution. Status quo will always argue with creativity. Mediocrity will always argue with brilliance. If you wait until all of your arguments are won to bring forth what is within you will no longer be relevant. In colloquial terms, bringing forth what is within you isn't what you win. Bringing forth what is within you is how you win. And all of your bedazzled planning is really quite limited as well. While you might be disappointed to finally accept that your Wouldn't that be a moment, though? Well, you might be disappointed to finally and humbly accept that your planning can't discover every redirection, every pause, every disappointment. Maybe you could be gladdened to recognize that your planning can't discover every miracle, every serendipity, every resource either. The point of your planning isn't to discover every beautiful step along your path so you can finally launch your journey. The point of your planning is to finally launch your journey so you can discover every beautiful step along your path. It was UIL's own Daniel Kalfas who offered a formula 4 years ago when he launched the Hands-On Housing Initiative. For those who are new or newer, every year, Unity in Lynnwood descends upon the home of someone in our greater neighborhood and performs a Hollywood-appropriate one-day home makeover. Now, Daniel suggested something similar. Daniel just walked in. And what he called his 80% strategy, it goes something like this. I completely own my paraphrase, Daniel. Ours is to get to the point that we are 80% sure that we're 80% ready for 80% of the project 80% of the time. And from that point, we lean in and allow the mechanisms of the universe to guide us and to grow us. How did I do, Daniel? Great, thank you very much. You know, it's something like that 1976 AMC Gremlin that your sister drove in high school. Well, it may have been my sister, to tell you the truth. And you know the one, it had blue jeans upholstery. It had 3 speeds on the floor, and speed, of course, is a very generous word to ascribe to a 1976 AMC Gremlin. It's like that 1976 AMC Gremlin, though. You can pop the clutch all afternoon, but it's really far more likely to work if the car is already moving. Life is like that. And our perfectionism, this tendency to wait for just a little more, it is a learned and habitual thirst that is seldom quenched. Imagine what we would have missed if perfectionism had been more important than those first tin cans connected with wire. And imagine what we would have missed if perfectionism had been more important than that first manual switchboard. Imagine what we would have missed if perfectionism had been more important than that first mobile telephone. If perfectionism had been more important than the first flip phone. It cost about $3,000, by the way. $3,000. Imagine what we would have missed if perfectionism had been more important than the launch of the first iPhone. We clearly would still be waiting. Imagine what we would have missed if perfectionism had been more important than the very first public performance offered by the Beatles. This was an event that happened this week in history, 1960. Imagine what we would have missed. Might we have lost such lyrics as, yesterday, all my troubles seemed so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, or what might have become of blackbirds singing in the dead of night? Take these broken wings and learn to fly. Would we be able to bask in the comforts of imagine there is no heaven? It's easy if you try.
What one man can do is love. What one man can do is dream. What one man can do is change the world and make it new again. That's what one man can do. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, oh, let it be. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. When all the broken-hearted people living in the world agree that there will be an answer, let it be. Though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see that there will be an answer. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Oh, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be, let it be, oh, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. What one man can do is love. What one man can do is dream. What one man can do is change the world and make it new again. That's what one man can do.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was arranged by our very own Dr. Richard. Thank you so much.
On this week in history, if perfectionism had been more important than my compulsion, I can promise you this. If perfectionism had been, or were today, more important than my compulsion to bring forth important conversations about the unity of all creation, about the inherent equality of all life, about the abuses of unexamined religion. If perfectionism had been more important than my compulsion to bring forth important conversations about the beauties of spiritual practice, about the powers of consciousness, about the activities of belief, about the limitations of the sensory self. If perfectionism had been more important than my compulsion to bring forth important conversations about the virtually unlimited capacities of the human creature to create and about the immense responsibility that comes with these capacities, we'd still be waiting. We would still be waiting. In the beginning, it says, God created. Your power doesn't rise from your arguing, from your planning, from your perfecting. Your power rises from your willingness to bring forth that which is within you. I have to believe that's why the great saying has endured for so long concerning all acts of initiative and creation. There is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits, then providence moves too. All sorts of things begin to occur that would help one that otherwise would have never occurred. A whole stream of events issues forth, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no person could have dreamed would come forth. Whatever you can do, it closes, whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin, it says, begin. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it, closed quote. Ultimately, to bring forth that which is within you is to assume your place in an evolution of thought that began long before you assumed physical form, a sequence of thought that will continue long after you relinquish that physical form. It's to assume your place in an evolution of thought that has been handed to you by your ancestors, that same train of thought that has been entrusted to you by your descendants. Quite simply, to refuse to assume that place, to refuse to bring forth that which is authentically within you, is to decline to play your role in the evolution of tin cans and mobile switchboards and mobile telephones and timeless and sublime music, to refuse to bring forth that which is authentically within you is to decline to play your role in God's thinking of a better world into being. In the beginning, it says, God brought forth. Take a deep breath with me. If you're comfortable doing so, close the outer eyes. Allow the very physicality of you to be free. Perhaps as we take another breath, we imagine that breath softening the temples, even uncurling the fingers. In the beginning, God created. In the beginning, God brought forth from itself. So allowing such an intuition to assume a personal form, the question becomes, what would it mean today to me? What might it mean to me today to bring forth from my most authentic self. And we watch. We need neither accept nor reject, but we watch. What might it mean for me today to bring forth from my most authentic self? If there's a denial to be entertained today, it would go something like this. Most certainly, the grand wisdom that spins the universes did not place me here to argue. Surely, the grand wisdom that spins the universes did not place me here for my ability to plan. Certainly, the wisdom that spins the universes did not place me here for my capacity to be perfect. Perhaps I can entertain that indeed the wisdom that spins the universes, the wisdom that has purpose, has placed me here that I might unfold something of my most authentic self. In so doing, to take my rightful place as a link in a conversation that would affirm the honor of life, the privilege of being, and the joy of being together. And we draw this time of deeper consideration to a close simply by saying, and so it is. And so it is. And so it is.
I don't know. I think that deserves something. That was a fabulous talk. I'm feeling so inspired right now. So now we are at the part of our service that we affectionately call offering. And giving options will appear on your screen. And if you're interested in our program of regular or recurring giving that we call Giver Circle, please feel free to contact me for the next couple of weeks. There'll be new information forthcoming. And if you're interested in planned or legacy giving, please write Dr. Richard directly. And I invite you to go back after service. There is a form that Dr. Richard created, a card that talks about giving. And he says in there, and I'm just going to give the bullet points so that you can go back. I won't do the spoilers for the rest of it because it's really good stuff. And it says, understand your giving as a prayer. Understand your giving as an investment. Understand your giving as a vote. Understand your giving as a practice. And understand your giving as energy. And always, always give with love. And I invite you to close your eyes at this moment and hold your offering in your hands. And as you breathe in with that God breath of life, allow that breath to bless this offering. And then as you exhale, allow the exhale to release the gift of your offering as a blessing to this community and to the world. And so it is.
Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen.
Oh, hello again. If you happen to be new today, I invite you back to our welcome and information station. There's often someone standing back there that can answer questions. And in the chair back in front of you, there are some resources that you can pull out. We have a newcomer's card, an update your information card. And if you're interested, you can go ahead and pull that out and fill it out. And that will put you on our mailing list so that you can receive the emails, monthly emails that go out. And we never have more than one or two, so it's not like you're going to get inundated with emails, but it's a way for us to connect with you and keep you abreast of what's going on here in the community. And also, if you're new or newerish, and maybe on your first time here you didn't happen to take advantage of this, feel free to stop by Soul Things, our gift shop, and grab a free daily word. And if you're not familiar with daily word, that is a small inspirational booklet that gives you a daily inspiration for every day. It's been something that's been going on since, my gosh, the early 1900s. It's something that's, Barbara? 1924, this booklet was started to be printed, and it's still being printed today. And so, feel free to take advantage of that so that you can see if that's something that would fit for you. And we have all kinds of things that are going. There are ways to connect with others here at Unity in Lynnwood beyond Sunday services. There's coffee hour afterwards, of course, but we have lots of activities happening, and feel free to check those out by going to unityinlynnwood.org, clicking on the calendar tab, and just perusing the different months, and you can find out all the different things that are happening. And I will highlight a few for you. One is save the date for an all-community picnic, which is Sunday, August 28th at 12:30 p.m. We're inviting people to register so we know how many people will be there. And we're going to celebrate, apparently, somebody named Reverend Nina. So... we have a prosperity class starting Tuesdays, October 16th at 7 p.m. And the blurb for that is, the natural order of things knows how to support its creation, both in whole and in part. So the troubling yet empowering question becomes, are you cooperating with the natural order of things or frustrating the natural order of things? Join with others willing to get themselves out of the way of that which longs to prove itself. And this will be facilitated by myself and Dr. Richard. And if you are a member in good standing and desire to be considered for a 3-year term on UIL's Board of Trustees, please grab the job description and the application from the Welcome and Information Station. And if you'd like to nominate another, it's a really good idea to ask them first. And finally, the UIL's Board of Trustees invites you into connection and conversation at today's informal town hall. Please, we invite everyone to attend so that we can update you as to the finances and overall information about what's going on at Unity in Lynnwood. You can get updates. There'll be a space for you to ask questions. These informal meetings are 60 minutes in duration and subject to certain meeting protocols that keep them on time, efficient, and informative, and friendly, and good. And so it is.
You are ready to learn an entirely new set of rules, to move from the Pacific Northwest to San Antonio. We hold you in blessing during your learning curve. I learned early that if something is interesting in the South, you may or may not take that as a compliment. You what?
Bless your heart.
Bless your heart falls in that same category. That may or may not be a prayer. Bless your heart. I remember that Thanksgiving well. Well, that turkey is interesting. It's a true story. Take a deep breath with me. Do not close your eyes this time, but as something of a closing spiritual practice, if you are so willing. If you are so willing. Let's close as we began by communicating love without using our voices in a way most suited to you. Find a set of eyes and cultivate a presence of love as you do so. I think for whatever healing capacities, for whatever transforming dynamics exist within communities, exist within our spiritual traditions, I think ultimately they are born of an experience we would call love. An experience that transcends our words. So for being vehicles of wholeness, for being transformative vehicles, thank you. Thank you for bringing your love here today. Always, it is the privilege of a lifetime to be with you. Let's close our time together today, as we always do, with sung words of blessing, with sung words of farewell.
May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure